everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will dive into the world of DevOps. The agenda for this video first will explore traditional way of deploying a website, how websites were deployed manually in the past, and the role of developers, testers, and operations teams in that process. Then we'll see challenges with the traditional deployments, slow and inefficient workflows, communication gaps between teams, and high error rates and difficulty in scaling. Need for DevOps. So, after we explore the challenges, we'll see need for DevOps, why the traditional approach does not meet modern demands, and how DevOps addresses these challenges. What is DevOps? So, explanation of what is DevOps, benefits of adopting DevOps for software development and deployment. And at the end, we'll explore modern way of deploying a website with DevOps, which means automated workflows, continuous pipelines, integrations, faster and error-free deployment process. Let's start with a simple example. So imagine you have a requirement where you need to build your application or website or any product. So that is your requirement. And the final goal is it should be live and accessible on internet so that anyone can browse it. This is your high level requirement. So to make this happen, what you need? You will need three types of people in general. Who are those? You need developers who will write the code. They will push it to some source control so that other developers can access that code. You need testers to ensure to test the application and who ensures everything works as expected. Operations team to build and deploy your code on the server. So operation teams are responsible for deploy your code on different servers. Generally, for any software development life cycle, you have a multiple environments like dev, test, production, and before production the UAT. So your code basically goes from dev and then test and then UAT and then the actual live production environment. So for all those environments, the operations teams is responsible for deploying that code on the server. So how does that happen? So in the traditional way of doing things, developers generally write the code on their local machines and test it there. And they might commit the code to the source control system, whichever company is using, like Git, SVN, but there is no automation. They will just put the code there, no pipelines, and the process stops here. So this is how it looks like. There are multiple users. The word of developers, there are multiple users. They will commit the code to the GitHub. No validation, compilation can fail, no integration testing because they have directly just pushed the code to the GitHub. There was no kind of automation and the pipelines that ensuring that the code is properly compilable. Code has code quality standards, the validation, the integration with other codes, nothing will happen. They just push the code to the developers. And from here, the operations team. So here you can see the operations team, and this is the dev server. So here the operations teams would step in. They would take the code, they would manually build it and generate a deployable unit that they can deploy it on the dev server. And why do we need the development servers for the developers? So that they can actually test their code, that code is integrated with other services and ensures that when everything is committed to that source control and all developers have the code, everything is working, everything is functional. So it covers the integration testing and communication with other services and the actual dev database connectivities, lot of other stuff, because on the local system he does not have exposure of all the dev instances and dev related infrastructure. That is just in the context of the local. So this is where the operations team is actually deploying the code on the dev server. Now basically developers, where the delay comes, developers have to wait for their code to be deployed before they can actually test it. And because of the manual process, it will take time. and there is no way to test how the code works with other developers contributions until it's deployed. So that is actually, all of this slow down the process significantly, and it makes it hard to release software or any product quickly and efficiently. And once they do the testing on the dev servers and everything looks good, they will move it to the test servers. So they will provide a go ahead, that operations team, that yes, now you can just deploy that code to the test server. And now the QA team generally test on the test environment, and they will do the testing. And if they find any issues, they will create any defects, or they might create and they might reach out to developers for the issues, and the cycle will happen again. If there are any issues, it will go to developers, and then again the whole manual process happen. And same thing happens for other environments also, like the test and then the UAT and the production, the simple life cycle of the software development using the traditional way of deploying a website. With this approach, you can see it's a lengthy delivery cycle in traditional development. To deliver any software, it takes longer amount of time to deploy it on any server. Delayed feedback loop, because everything is manual and everything is dependent on someone who will do that activity, that actually delays the feedback. It's a reactive approach to failure handling in traditional development. And as you can see, isolated team in traditional development, there is no collaboration and the communication happening. It's just a very manual process. And the most important part, hot fixes. So what is hot fix? I just wanted to give you a little bit of idea. So in general, because of the slow delivery cycles, in previously or in the traditional way, the code takes, generally it's a release cycle to get your code deployed to the production, the actual system. There is a 3 months of cycle, sometimes it has a 6 month of cycle, and even more. So if there are any issues in the production, like today I was working on some website, or I found there's a critical bug, like you are not able to click on some button, or any kind of issues, that is actually the critical bug that we call it. So for that, there is a process called hot fix. Hot fix process means that you are just removing all the environments like dev, test, QA, and directly pushing into the UAT environments, and from there the production environment, so that you can quickly deploy your code to the production environment using hot fixes. That is the major problem, and that is the reason in the previous years, and maybe long back, there were a lot of hot fixes that are required because of all those stuff, because you are deploying on the production once in 6 months or once in 3 months. So if any issues happen in the production deployment, you really need to do the hot fixes. So that is also one major problem with the traditional approaches. Need for DevOps, basically enhance collaboration in the IT, or enhance collaboration for software development lifecycle. So we have seen the inefficiencies of traditional IT frameworks. So what DevOps do? DevOps actually streamline those processes that is actually causing delays, bottlenecks in traditional IT, that leads to more efficient workflows. DevOps do foster collaboration between development and the operations team. So DevOps team basically encourage team to work together and facilitate better communications and shared goals. So that is also the DevOps responsibility, to ensure the communication, the collaboration between different team members is happening, and everybody is working together. Leads to faster time to markets. What does that mean? So these days you have seen things are changing rapidly. So with DevOps, or with integrated all DevOps practices, now organizations can actually quickly deploy their cycles, right? Previously the cycle for the production release, if it is 3 months, now it's the 1 week, or maybe it is all automated. As soon as you commit it, it's deployed everywhere because you have everything automated. So that just enable quicker response to market demands based on the feedback, based on the customer satisfactions. Anything you can plan it and implement it with no time, like only time which is required to develop that code. After that, everything is automated. So that will just ensure that you can quickly deploy it, quickly release the new features or the new functionalities. It also improves product quality because you have a continuous testing, you have a continuous integrations with the DevOps. It helps you to catch issues early. So if developer is writing a code on his local machine, and as soon as he just commit into his branch, he come to know if there are any issues there, like basic kind of testing, the unit testing, integration testing just happen at that time only. That will just ensure that we are delivering a high quality products, and also in no time, because fixing some code which is on developer machine is easier than fixing any code which was already deployed to production. So it improves product quality in a sense. Also increase responsiveness to business needs, because DevOps practices basically enables team to adapt quickly to changing requirements and feedback. Requirements change these days frequently, so DevOps actually enable them. Yes, you can have those things. If now client needs this particular stuff, you can actually integrate it. So basically enhance overall agility of that particular software. Enhance customer satisfaction. So, by delivering better products faster, now organizations actually meet their customers' expectations easily and leading to higher satisfaction in the market position. So, this is like the need. If you have everything, it means you can quickly deploy it. So, that is the need for the DevOps. So, now let's just explore what is the DevOps means basically. So, the primary goal of DevOps is to just reduce the time taken for software development and deployment. That is the main focus of DevOps. Like they just want to reduce the time taken to build that software quickly, test it quickly, and then deploy it on production quickly. That is the main goal. And for that, whatever a DevOps has to do, they will do it. So DevOps is not one person thing. It's like just a simple, it's a set of practices that everybody has to follow. It's not just one team or three people in a company. Everybody has to follow those practices. DevOps will just help them. They will just ensure what a developer, what a tester need. They will create those kind of stuff, like if they need this kind of automation, if they need this kind of configuration in an automated way, they will facilitate those things. They will collaborate. They will reach out to the team and understand what are their pain points and basically provide a solution for that. So the main goal is just to how to reduce it. And for that, what does it mean? Automate everything. That's the main goal. If you have automation everywhere, it means already your time has reduced to deploy any software in the production. So that is a simple definition of DevOps. So this is stages of DevOps life cycle. So this is not just a DevOps life cycle, this is a software development life cycle. Any software, when you build it, you plan it, you code it, you build it, test, then you need to release it, deploy it, operate and monitor. What does all of these things means? Like planning, you have to plan. It's like a project planning. What is the requirement? You gather all the requirements and all those things comes into the planning. Then it's coding start, where developers will start creating the code and start working on those planning and the requirements and create the code. Build means you just take those code, compile it, and actually it's like a deployable unit, like a package, and then just deploy it somewhere so that other people can access it. So that is like a build and deployment. Test, you need a testing to test your product. Release, you actually release it. Like release means when this application or software is available to for the end users. That is like release. Operate, managing, monitoring operations, maintaining software performance, all those stuff, you really need to do that. Monitor, continuous monitoring, like you want to ensure that your application or your software is working fine, there are no issues, no performance issues, nothing. So continuous monitoring. So this all basically DevOps team is now ensuring that how each of these process can automated, what all the pain points of any of the people who are involved in these process, automate that. So if I would say daily task for any DevOps engineer is first main role is first the main part for them is build the code and deploy it on the server and maintain the infrastructure. That is their daily job, to have those infrastructure ready. But other than that, to ensure that business is able to rapidly deploy their code, they have to create that robust infrastructure, the framework, and understand the need of each of the team members, basically each of the developers and the testers, what do they need, and create the process based on their requirement also. So like generally the DevOps team, who are the customers for them, it is their own application team, it is their own testing team. They have to gather the requirements from them and create the platform or the framework based on that. Other than they do all the building and the configuring part, they know what needs to be done from that perspective. But other stuff, whatever a developers, how to ensure a developer can have a local development setup in an automated way, how they can quickly test it, all those things a developer basically has to think about it. So that is like a stage of DevOps life cycle. Here, I just want to compare like the DevOps and the traditional models. So, in terms of collaboration, as you have seen, in traditional, it's isolated teams. And in DevOps world, it's a collaborative culture in DevOps. Delivery cycle. It's a lengthy delivery cycle in traditional development, but it's the shortest and continuous delivery cycle in DevOps. You are just continuously deliver it. There is no stopping point as such. Failure handling. It's a reactive approach in traditional development to failure handling, but in DevOps, it's proactive and automated failure handling. Feedback loop. Delayed feedback loop in traditional because of the long cycle, it's a long dependencies, manual process, the feedback loop is delayed. But it's a rapid and continuous feedback loop in DevOps. So this is like a simple example or the comparison between DevOps and the traditional models. Before we wrap up, I want to share a bit about my own experience with DevOps. I have over 15 years of experience in the industry. When I started, there was no term like DevOps. I worked as a configuration analyst, and back then the process were entirely different. Deploying code to production was a lengthy and cumbersome process. Each release required extensive coordination, proper release meeting, and often we called a war room to manage deployments. Since nothing was automated, we had to handle everything manually from configuring it to deploy it. And this manual process often caused delays. And for critical fixes, we sometimes have to perform hot fixes directly in production. A risky approach, but necessarily due to the inefficiencies in the workflow. Today, things are drastically different. With DevOps now, most tasks are automated. Developers now have access to tools and framework that allow them to push code to production with just the click of a button. In fact, we as a DevOps team rarely need to intervene during production releases. Unless there is an issue with the base configuration or the pipeline, The development team can just manage everything themselves using the platforms that we have built for them. So the role of DevOps actually has evolved too. It's no longer about performing repetitive daily tasks. It is about automating those tasks, improve existing process, and build robust platforms for others to use. So now we actually focus on innovations like migrating old systems to newer, better solution, enhancing build and deployment pipelines, adopting new technologies to make the process more efficient and reliable. That is the real power of DevOps. It's about enabling others to succeed while continuously innovating and improving the process. I hope this video gave you a clear understanding of DevOps and its impact. And if you found it helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more such insights. Thank you.